Hello, we are Group 1, and our project is based on Philip Morris International, the largest transnational tobacco company. Some of the well-known brands produced by Philip Morris include L&M, Marlboro, Benson and Hedges. Marlboro is the global leader among all other brands.
Since tobacco can grow in any warm or moist environment, it can be farmed on all continents except Antarctica, which suggests the global scope of its availability and supply. The market is highly concentrated with some dominant players such as British American Tobacco, Japan Tobacco International, Philip Morris International, etc. Similar in economic terms to agricultural foodstuffs, leaf tobacco, the price is in part determined by crop yields and other factors such as the area where it is grown, the health of the plants, etc. Before 2000s, the marketing played a significant role in the tobacco industry. However, now there are several restrictions, in spite of which there has been a 12% increase in the production of cigarettes starting 2002. Philip Morris International is an independently owned and operated tobacco company headquartered in New York. It employs more than 80,000 people across 46 manufacturing units. It is the world's largest producer of tobacco products, holding 15.7% of the total global market. The type of business activity for Philip Morris is producing and manufacturing cigarettes, cigars, as well as packaged tobacco through 5.9 million retailers and serving 150 million plus customers. It also produces heated tobacco products and is looking to expand in the e-cigarette market. 74% or more of its R&D expenditure goes into the development of smoke-free products. Moving to the key objectives for the company, the key objective for PMI is designing a smoke-free future because it believes that e-cigarettes will one day replace the conventional cigarettes. The SCM goal in terms of this would therefore be where factories would have to shift from cigarette production to the manufacture of smoke-free alternatives. The market trends for e-cigarettes show the market is an expanding market for e-cigarettes as shown in the figure. The company has invested over $4.5 billion into R&D of smoke-free products and currently houses 4 smoke-free products developed which have been opened in more than 30 markets across the world. Philip Morris has enjoyed a relatively lax regulatory environment which has allowed it to take greater advantage of growth opportunities, and the company has done so during the early years of the economic expansion. This has reflected in the improving conditions for the company, as can be seen from the trends for the stock prices for the company. In keeping with the philosophical shift in Philip Morris's core mission from decades of traditional cigarettes to embracing reduced risk products, Philip Morris executives have even started to envision an industry without traditional cigarettes in the near future and hope for a new growth driver as a helping hand or a fuel for a new rally for the stock. The differentiation strategy is the key strategy adopted by Philip Morris, which encompasses major cigarette brands associated with high quality and can therefore command a premium. The company products are sold in over 180 markets across the world, and 6 of the top 15 international brands belong to it, which shows its global presence. It also offers a wide range of healthier smoking alternatives like heated tobacco products. We will now move on to the key stakeholder issues faced by each stakeholder in the value chain for Philip Morris, starting with raw material providers who provide insecticides and pesticides to farmers to farm crops like leaf tobacco, groundnut, and maize. The key stakeholder issues facing the raw material providers are sustainability of supply and the price variances in the same. For farmers, the key stakeholder issues would be the weather conditions which affect the cultivation, also the quality and supply of auxiliary inputs such as fertilizers, and labor issues such as child labor and working conditions. Philip Morris also takes in products such as rolling paper, filter material, and specialty chemicals from input companies for the sake of producing cigarettes. The key issues facing such companies are the management capabilities and the supply of chemicals. The key issues facing Philip Morris, on the other hand, are the supply chain issues, sustainability, transparency, and responsible marketing issues. The cigarettes are then sent to retailers who are plagued with issues such as the strategy and the supply chain management. And the final consumers face issues such as health and price. The elasticity of demand for cigarettes is not very high, and therefore, even though there may be price variances, the demand more or less remains constant, or rather is growing over time in certain developing areas or countries owing to the increase in stress levels. Based on internal segmentation, we can classify the different product categories for Philip Morris on the Kraljic matrix against purchase importance and supply complexity into four broad categories, namely bottleneck, strategic leverage, and non-critical. We find that the key raw materials or the key inputs such as leaf tobacco, filters, papers, corrugated boxes used for packaging constitute the leverage products with low supply complexity because of the high supply but a very high purchase importance, while products such as chemicals and categories such as R&D, tools and machinery fall in the strategic category. Product categories such as professional services, on the other hand, fall in the bottleneck category with high supply complexity and low purchase importance, while non-critical product category encompasses product categories of buildings, copy papers, stationeries and other such auxiliary goods. Moving to the key suppliers for Philip Morris. For leaf tobacco, the key suppliers are Alliance One and Universal Leaf, both of which are globally held leaf tobacco merchants who purchase, process and ship the leaf tobacco to cigarette manufacturers. They also provide agronomy expertise to farmers for growing leaf tobacco. International Paper Company is the largest pulp and paper manufacturing company in the world with over 55,000 employees and is a supplier of paper and packaging materials to Philip Morris, while Rayonier Advanced Chemicals is an American chemical company specializing in cellulose-based products headquartered in USA, which supplies cigarette filter materials to Philip Morris. Philip Morris has maintained strategic partnerships with all of these major companies formed over decades and is very crucial for their business at a daily basis. Going ahead with the market analysis for leaf tobacco, we find a geographically concentrated market structure with over 60% of the tobacco production coming out from Asia. The global production of leaf tobacco last year was 5.8 million tons, and the production is in excess capacity with 350,000 plus farmers being contracted by PMI for supply in over 28 countries. The production quality is consistent with three major qualities called the flue cured tobacco, which is available in 70% proportion, the air cured 12% and the oriental 3% are available, and the quality is consistent. The know-how and technology is stable given that leaf tobacco is in the mature phase of its life cycle. Over 2,800 field technicians provide support to contracted tobacco farmers across the world, and 90% of the tobacco is sourced through direct contracts by PMI. Moving forward to the Supplier Management and Decision Making Unit membership, using the Continuity Involvement Matrix, we have considered four major supplier categories for Philip Morris International. They include Alliance One and Universal Corp, individual farmers, and short-scale tobacco merchants. Alliance One and Universal Corp have both been placed in the high involvement, high continuity bracket, which are associated with long-term intense relationships, while individual farmers fall in the high involvement, low continuity matrix based on the yield of their farms, the seasonality issues, etc., and therefore in the short-term intense relationships, while short-scale tobacco merchants have been classified in low involvement, low continuity bracket with short-term arm's length relationship. At the same time, the various functions involved in the decision-making unit for the purchase of leaf tobacco have been mentioned in the table alongside, and the functions involved are marketing, finance, operations, R&D, purchasing and engineering departments. The role for each function has been elucidated with the degree of influence available. R&D, for instance, is an initiator as well as a buyer. For example, if there is a new product innovation such as an e-cigarette or a heated tobacco product, the initiator role will be played by the R&D department. Similarly, purchasing is the gatekeeper as well as the initiator, while engineering is the influencer and the decider based on the technology available with the company. We shall now undertake supplier evaluation for 4 broad supplier categories, namely Alliance 1, Universal Corp, individual farmers and small-time traders. For the product category of leaf tobacco, the suppliers have been evaluated on criteria namely economic performance, flexibility, innovation, quality, logistics and price. Alliance 1 and Universal Corp have been rated highest, that is 4 out of 4, on all categories except for the price, while individual farmers have been rated 1 on 4 on criteria such as economic performance, the flexibility and the logistics. They have been rated the least on flexibility, for example, because the produce depends a lot on the weather conditions, the quality of fertilizers available with the farmers and the yield of the produce itself. Traders have been rated 3 out of 4 on all parameters in comparison to how the other supply categories performed on those parameters, except for the parameter of economic performance, for which it has been ranked 2 out of 4, better than only individual farmers that have been ranked the least. The totaling of all of these factors comes out, and the highest score is obtained by Alliance 1 and Universal Corp. As we saw in the involvement continuity matrix, they have already been associated with the long-term intense relationship category. Going ahead with the SWOT analysis for Philip Morris International, its strengths are understood to be the adequate supply of leaf tobacco, the global presence of its brands, the strong distribution networks built over decades, its investments in R&D and new technologies towards designing a smoke-free future, and its marketing capabilities that have helped its brands across decades. Its weaknesses involve illicit tobacco trade and its control, such as the contraband counterfeit trade happening across the world, the social perception of tobacco products in the light of health concerns, and the government or legal regulations, and also the marketing and promotion restrictions that have been imposed in the past 2 decades. The opportunities for the company can be said to be in the field of new technologies, which allow them to diversify their offerings and represent an opportunity to enter new markets, just as IQOS has been launched in 30 new markets. The growing demand for cigarettes in developing countries such as India and China also present a lucrative opportunity to bring more farmers into its ALP or Agricultural Labor Practices Initiative, whereby farmers are provided with good quality seeds and fertilizers to improve yield and quality of production. In order to make sure that this happens and more number of people or farmers come under the ALP initiative, Philip Morris has tied up with Alliance 1 and Universal Corp in the USA, and they take the supply of leaf tobacco only from these 2 major companies, so that more and more number of farmers can come under the purview of the ALP initiative. That is another opportunity for the company. The threats to the company can be associated with the government and healthcare authorities fighting over the consumption of tobacco, the increasing taxation on tobacco products, and the risks to supply arising out of illegal practices and labor practices on the farms, and the different country laws associated with them, and also the performance of its new smoke-free products and their effects on the stock based on the apprehension or the hopefulness regarding the same. That was the analysis of Philip Morris International from a purchasing marketing point of view. Thank you.